Hi, I'm Ishan. I write for a magazine called Down to Earth, based out of New Delhi. And thank you, Abram, and thank you, Meta for letting me do this. So let me just tell you what my presentation will be. Both the previous speakers have sort of put the entire global perspective in a very good way. My presentation, like Abraham said, is going to be very regional, and it will be about the journey that I took chasing locust practically. Uh, I think it was around the last week of May when we decided to start do this story on locusts. And as you can see, so this is the area that I traveled. So from Delhi, first we went to Jaipur, then to Bikaner, then to this small town on the India-Pakistan border called Khujewala, and then to Sri Ganganagar, and then back to Delhi. And all of these areas are are the worst affected areas in terms of locust invasion, and also they're the main cotton growing areas, the GM cotton growing areas of India. And but let me briefly tell you how we planned this, so it'll give you a sense of how even the monitoring that Mr. Cressman talked about earlier is done on the field. So it starts from it's a bottom-up process. So every village has volunteers, has agriculture department people who are constantly sending information through the apps and the e-locust the systems, and then all of those information get collected at the nodal level, which is the locust warning organization, which is the central body in India when it comes to monitoring and coping with locusts. And it's around evening when a locust swarm settles down in a particular field or an area, that the location is sent to all the departments, the government departments who will be involved. So when I started from Delhi, I was in touch with the Jaipur center of the locust warning organization, and they had during late evening they got the GPS location of where the locust swarm is settled. And once they got that information was shared with the horticulture department. That information was shared with the fire department, because in areas where fire brigades can go, those are also employed to do the work of spraying and fumigation. So once all of that is done, all the concerned departments, the agriculture department, the horticulture department, the fire department, and also the local volunteers, they all gather at this place where the locust is, and the operations start just before the day breaks. So we left Delhi on 26th of May at around 12 in the midnight, so that we could catch the action that was happening in Jaipur, in this one village called Karanpur. And we reached there in the morning, and once we reached there, it was still the sun hadn't risen and it was still dark, and you couldn't see anything. So there were just some stray random locusts flying from one corner to the other. But as soon as the day broke, as soon as there was light, the situation completely changed, and it changed to something like this. So this is what happened as soon as sun came up. There were these thousands and thousands of locusts, and what is happening here is that I'm sitting on top. I and my colleague are sitting on top of a fire brigade, which is filled with huge amounts of pesticides mixed with a lot of water, and these are our brave firemen who have been doing this all night, and they're basically spraying it on all the locusts that they can see. And so that was what was happening. And that particular village, the previous slide is from a village where there wasn't a lot of agricultural crops. So the locusts had, as you could have seen there, they were sitting on trees and they were basically eating the bark of the tree. And it was, in that case, it wasn't very harmful to the farmers who were there. But there have been cases, there have been multiple cases actually, where the locust swarm landed on a sowed field and basically destroyed all the crops. Here, there's this farmer, this gentleman, Rajkumar Jakar. He's from a nearby district, Bikaner, which is along the India-Pakistan border, and I can show you his video, but his video is in Hindi and it's not transcribed. So what I'll do, I'll take you to this down to earth video that we made. It's in English and the interviews are transcribed. So just bear with me for this for 5 minutes. Unprecedented numbers of locust swarms have entered India. Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and parts of Punjab are affected. But the worst affected state remains Rajasthan. Districts like Jaisalmer and Bikaner are one of the worst affected within the state. These are the places where the locusts first come when they cross over. To understand the impact of the pest on farmers and an already battered rural economy, we have come to Bikaner. Right now, we are in Chhattargarh block, which is around 100 kilometers from Bikaner. We will talk to farmers and see what they have to say about the pest and its crisis.
22 अप्रैल को मैंने यहाँ पे कॉटन की बुआई की थी और 10 मई को टीडी आई थी 4 बजे दोपहर और 6 बजे तक 2 घंटे में सारे मेरी खेती नष्ट कर दी।
ये टीडी आई थी उस दिन ऐसे लग रहा था जैसे पश्चिम दिशा से आई थी और जैसे ऐसे लग रहा था आसपास से दूर से भी आंधी आ रही है बहुत भयंकर। उसके बाद में मेरे को लगभग 10-15 मिनट लगे खेत में आए तब तक। ये खेत में एकदम परत सी जमी हुई थी और नरमा था 7 बीघा पूरा एकदम लगभग 1 घंटे के अंदर वो खाली कर दिया।
ये काफी नुकसान हुआ है। मेरी खेती थी 2.5 हेक्टर और इसमें मेरे को लगभग 5 लाख रुपए उपज बनी थी।
So those are basically what's happening on the ground. And there are many farmers like this who have suffered because of this. There was standing crop, and you have to understand this within the context of the regional economy. So the crop that they're talking about is the cotton crop. And cotton crop in the entire cropping cycle is the most lucrative one. It's the most commercially valuable crop. And this is the crop that they have lost. And this is the crop that they depend on to pay off debts, to use the money for marriage or to send their kids for studying. And I met a lot of people, a lot of farmers who were completely distraught because this wasn't the first time that a locust attack had left them with nothing. It happened last year also, and it's been happening for the 3 crop cycles. So you can understand that for them it's a matter of life and death now. That the previously taken loans are not paid, the fees of school children are not paid, the electricity bills are not paid, and then again when you are expecting to have a good harvest, and this is something that I'll talk about later, why they were expecting good harvest, but they were expecting a good harvest and then suddenly this happens. And in terms of local coping mechanisms, so there isn't a lot that people can do. I mean, as soon as the locust comes, I mean, and there is some memory because the last big locust invasion that happened here was in India, at least, was in 1993, yes. And so there is some memory of how people coped with locusts back then. So the immediate knee-jerk response is to create a lot of noise. Now, whether it's through banging utensils or through firecrackers, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the gentleman that you see here, he lost his entire crop. So we went to his field, there was nothing there. It seemed like the crop wasn't, he hadn't sown anything. But on closer inspection, you could see small twigs which were sort of half eaten, the remaining the crop that remained, which was basically nothing. So in his case it didn't work, but in the case of the previous farmer, the one that you just heard talking, in his case he did manage to sort of chase some of them out. But it's something that is not working. And obviously there are reports from, I think, Pakistan where they're saying that they're using the locust as chicken feed. So there are different local sort of out of the box solutions that are coming in, but they're not really working. I mean, given the number of locusts in a particular swarm, it's very difficult to do anything. And I think and that can also be seen through through the amount of pesticides that have been sprayed. So I think this figure is from back in June, if I'm not wrong. Yes, back in June, where till February last year, around 600,000 liters of insecticides were sprayed. And in a way, I can also understand what Mr. Cressman was saying earlier, that once the locust is at your door, it's already in the field. You can't really think of anything else. I mean, at that moment, it's only pesticides which will work. But the broader question here is that once you've sprayed pesticides, then what? It's a very fragile ecology. It's a desert ecology. There are a lot of other the issues of biodiversity, etc., which are at stake here, and pesticides cannot be the only answer. In fact, one thing which I don't think has gotten any attention till now is that how the locust is impacting local ecology. And this is something that I found while I was there. Some a tangent story, so to speak, was that how the Great Indian Bustard, which is one of which is a critically endangered species, Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, and which was supposed to be a national bird, but couldn't because of the name. But it seems that the Great Indian Bustard is feeding on the locust. And I was speaking with the Wildlife Institute of India scientists who are running a Great Indian Bustard GIB program in that area for the last couple of years, and they agreed that locust has a lot of nutritional value, and that is helping the local ecosystem. So the Great Indian Bustard, the foxes, jackals, a lot of species are feeding on it, and it's practically like a movable feast for them. And but related to this is also the other question that what if a Great Indian Bustard or a fox or any of these other animals in the ecosystem eat locust which is laced with insecticides? There were few instances of birds dying in that area, GIB dying, but it hasn't been the relation hasn't been made yet. Also because it's a very sensitive issue. So that is something that we haven't really looked into. In terms of figures from the ground, and this is all from all from June first week, and so till June 7th, around 9 states, 44 districts, and almost 70,000 hectares was affected by locust. Within that area that I traveled to, Bikaner district in Rajasthan, these are the figures. So I'm sorry. Around 4,500 hectares in Sri Ganganagar district was destroyed. The crops were destroyed by locusts. Around 9,000 hectares in Hanumangarh, 830 hectares in Bikaner, and all of these areas are, they are the main GM crop producing areas. And like I was telling you, the income is a lot. So every hectare produces around 200 kilograms, and every kilogram of cotton is sold for. Not every, but the entire crop is sold for around 1,20,000 to 1,40,000 rupees, and all of this is just losses for people, and like the people that we saw earlier, Rajkamal Jhakar or Mr. Shastwat that we saw in the video, they are all people who have lost these incomes. And another interesting thing about the pesticide is that of all the pesticides that are being used, I think around 4 or 5 pesticides that are being used. Some of them are in the list of a proposed list to be banned, and it is really interesting because if you see the government notification on the proposed ban list, it says that okay, this chemical is there. It's very bad. It's it's toxic. Blah blah blah. All of those things, and at the end it says except for treating with desert locusts. So the pesticide, the chemical is very bad for everything else, but when it comes to locust control, then it's applicable. And it just shows that we haven't really looked for solution beyond this sort of quick fix that we have here in terms of pesticides. Another interesting thing that I found on the field while talking to a lot of the locust warning organization people was the situation, how it has changed, the region, the geography, how it has changed. And this one officer that I met there, he had just joined the locust warning organization back in 1993 when the first attack happened, when the last major attack happened, and now he's a mid-level officer. So he has seen how things have changed. He's been in the same institution, and his take on this was that in these last 20-30 years, what has happened is that the population has increased, the area under agriculture has increased a lot. So as opposed to earlier, that is during the 1993 outbreak, while we were able to spray pesticides more freely, the main mode of control was still pesticides. So he was saying that while the pesticides, they were able to spray them more easily because there were no people, there weren't so much agriculture that we had to worry about. We could sort of control it in a quicker manner. While as now there are all of these difficulties. There are settled population. There's agriculture. There are people who use these pastures for feeding their cows, etc. So it's not as easy as just indiscriminate spraying of pesticide everywhere. And now one more thing that you need to understand is that although at an ecological and environmental level, all of these factors that the previous two speakers have talked about were happening, but in making a crisis there were other factors too, and primarily the administrative factors. One factor is obviously that the area of a desert has been sort of has been brought under the plow, and there's a lot of agriculture happening which earlier wasn't there. But another factor was an administrative factor, and this is the factor why people were expecting a better crop this time, and it is because during the last week of March, India went into a nationwide lockdown because of the coronavirus outbreak, the pandemic, and because of that, in this region, in this particular geography that I'm talking about in Rajasthan, there are 3 main canals which supports the agriculture there, and every year during this time these canals are closed to do their proper maintaining, repairing work, etc. But this year, because of the lockdown, that could not be done, and the canals were still operating, and which meant that there was easy accessibility to water for these people, for the farmers, and a lot of farmers preponed their sowing of the cotton, of the GM cotton, which is called the American cotton, by almost 20 to 30 days, and those were the crops which were raided by the locusts and perished entirely. And so this is just a map of how the spread of locusts is also directly correlation to the wind speed and also the rainfall. So what we found, so this entire period when we created this cover story, when we reported, there were my colleagues who were traveling to other parts of India to do this. But while we were doing it, with every new update, every weekly update, we could see that districts which would receive rainfall in that particular week would be the districts where the locust invasion where the locusts move in. So this is a map which shows you the major rainfall districts and also the wind speed, wind pattern. So I think this is all from my side. I can send the link to this story and also the slide to Abram, and maybe he can share it with you. Thank you.